Hi, I'm Amber.
And I'm Jessie.
And this is Glowing in Tech.
Powered by Coding Black Females. So today we have the wonderful Jessica Cregg with us. She is a developer advocate at LaunchDarkly. Jessica, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, hi. I'm a developer advocate at LaunchDarkly, and that's the show. I love learning. I love building proof of concepts, writing, and talking about why not every problem is a tech problem, and not every problem can be solved with tech.
That's very cool. You also do a lot of stuff outside of LaunchDarkly with conferences. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of tech meetups. So I started getting into tech through tech meetups. And that's kind of where I found my passion. I'm working one at the moment called DevSecOps London Gathering, which is really fun. It's a really fun space where we invite speakers, do book giveaways and learn about new areas in security and DevSecOps. And then I joined the team on DevOps Days London, and we've just finalised the agenda for this year. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be in the Oval Cricket Grounds.
Okay.
We're coming.
When's that?
Yeah.
When is that?
It's September 29th, I think. I'll send you.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what was your journey into tech like, and what was it that got you kind of interested in working in tech?
Yeah, my tech journey was, it kind of transitioned from a hobby into, okay, I can actually do this.
You can, of course.
And I don't know whether you had this realization, but I just found it fascinating that you're just sorry, I get paid to solve puzzles every day.
Yeah.
This is really fun. So I started working with, I studied English at uni. I really wanted to be a freelance journalist, but money exists. And
it's a requirement. Yeah.
So other plans had to be made. And then I started working on the other side of the equation, which is in marketing, communications and public relations and stuff with some agencies. And bit by bit, I started working with tech companies. And I had this really fun experience where I just felt like I'd found my people a little bit. And that just felt so affirming after some just trying to find somewhere that I felt could fit in for a while. And a lot of people were just so enthusiastic about their ideas and just very welcoming. I think I was just really lucky that I started the first kind of meetups that I went to were Code Bar and those kind of deliberately inclusive ones, which is really nice. And that was such a good introduction. And I just started playing around with Code Academy. I tried to get into Makers a couple of times, and I got in, and then they were and that will be £8,000, and I was oh. But they do some really great schemes now.
Yeah, they've got an apprenticeship program that allows you don't necessarily have to pay for the bootcamp. They actually pay you while they train you, which is something really cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And all of the Makers grads I've met are so good because they teach them TDD.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what TDD is, or just
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, test-driven development. So the idea is that you write your tests first, which is usually the bane of everyone's life. Mm-hmm. So then your tests have to pass, and you have to you end up designing around the sort of you end up creating code that really fits the spec of what you need. It feels quite. Is that your experience?
Yeah, definitely. I think I love test-driven development because it means you're getting the progress you're making is visual, especially when you're in back end. We don't have that as much as front end people do. Mm-hmm. You get to write the test, see that it fails, and then create the logic that then makes the test pass. So you've got quick, easy confirmation that the thing you just wrote actually works.
Yes.
And it can also be really helpful for trying to think through the logic as well. If you're building the test, you're okay, so if I need my thing to do this, it can just really help with that thought process of how you're gonna build the actual logic in the end. So I love test-driven development. It's not always the way that I think, but it can be a really helpful way to start with a task that I'm not quite sure how I'm going to build. Yeah.
Yeah, it forces you to kind of break it down into its composite. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you got a place on Makers, can't pay for this.
Yeah.
What were your next steps after that?
So I decided to keep learning. I was decided I spoke to more and more developers and I realized, okay, there are a lot of people that are self-taught out there. Like, it's not like a one path. You don't just have to do like degree or boot camp. You can just learn. And hopefully if you've got like the right community around you or the right like people around you to kind of like fill you in on where you've got some gaps, then you can kind of keep going. So I started learning JavaScript and Python because they're super well known and well used, and like a nice like little Python fits really well like after Ruby because they're both like super interpretable, right? And I made myself quit my job because I was like, if I don't do it, you know, if you've always got something to fall back on, you'll fall back on it.
Yeah.
And I needed to like push myself. And I think I watched this like thing from Michaela Cole where she was talking about like how she made herself quit her job to be able to like follow.
No way, I haven't seen that. That's really cool.
It's so cool. So yeah, I decided to do that, and that was really scary, and just freelanced and just did whatever I could to just, you know, just keep income happening. And then about like 4 or 5 months in, I got my first role in product as a solutions engineer, and I did that like for a year and a half, and that was really good. And that was a great pathway into tech because it meant that my experience being like in like managing client relations, like from like agency days, became like super useful.
Can you give us an insight into what a solutions engineer even is?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Solutions engineer, I mean, I think like all engineering titles means like a different thing at different companies.
Yes, it does.
But in the most of the time, I find that it's you are the depending whether or not you are pre-sales or post-sales, you're like the technical, you're the person in charge, like responsible for creating a technically sound solutions. So that can be like building a proof of concept, like sketching out architectural diagrams, proving that something can work, and that what the solution that you're selling someone can stand up to their requirements and can like do the job that they need to do. And then you can step away. So you're like responsible for like the technical win.
Yeah. And I think the way I see it as well is like you're often the intermediary between the client and like trying to translate what their requirements are into the thing that is then handed over to a team of engineers to then build the full. So you've got the proof of concept and then they take it to like a full scale, like the final version. And I think that's a really nice way for someone who is non-traditional, to be able to move with their soft skills and their communication skills and their presentation skills, and then be able to move, slowly transition into that more technical role.
Yeah, and combining that with like the technical understanding of the products, right?
Yeah,
to
exactly.
communicate the value and to essentially sell that to your clients, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then you end up getting exposed to so many, usually, if like depending on your product, you get exposed to so many different like problems, and you get on like so many different like troubleshooting calls. It's a really good way to just learn a lot about, like a little bit about a lot.
Yes, I like that.
That's an important thing when you're early on as well, because how do you figure out what you like?
Oh my goodness. Okay, this is a whole thing. Because a lot of people say, how do I get into tech, right? And it's like, what is tech to you? There's so many different roles available. What really interests you? And I used to hate when people used to ask me that when I was like, I don't know what to do. What interests you? Well, I don't know. Because
I've not done any of it yet.
I've not done any of it yet. And it's like I wanted like little internships of everything, but being able to quit something tomorrow. I know that if I spent 2 weeks doing back end, darlings, I'm not sure if I'd make it. No offense to you, Jessie.
Offense taken.
Oh. And that's the end of the show, people.
Good run.
Yeah, but it's so hard to find your interest, right? Because it's one thing for me to create like a HTML, CSS, like JavaScript website alone, but it's a complete different ball game. Being in the company, contributing to the code base, and what kind of products am I working on? What kind of people am I working with? And it's like, I feel like I love front end, right? But there may be another role that I don't even know exists that I would love even more and be even better at.
Yeah. This is the thing. So many of the roles like didn't exist a while ago.
I know.
Like the role I'm doing now, it didn't exist before. And it's like, you can only, you can't be what you can't see. So you've got to You gotta see it. But I think that's why like so many more places are doing like nomading. Like my work just started it.
Wait, what is this nomading thing? I've never heard.
You're sold already.
I'm sold.
Like, what is this? So it's where you do like a little secondment in a different squad, like a temporary like little stint in like a different squad. So like my colleague Isabel, who is she is doing a stint in the platform squad in the DevOps team, and she's moving from integrations over to the DevOps team.
So now she gets to play, or not play, but like fulfill the DevOps role in like a safer setting while watching all the other DevOps people do their job. That's really
and
cool.
they learn from her, she learns from them.
Oh wow, that is amazing.
It's so good, isn't it?
Wait, so how does that work? So does she do that for a set period of time? Is it like a once a month kind of deal? Like how does that actually work?
Yeah, it's a set period of time. It's like a temporary thing, and then if it fits pretty well, then maybe that's like a different conversation that you have with your lead.
That's cool.
But it's really good that you can kind of have that flexibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of hopping around jobs and in the same company.
Jessie,
What?
you? I would never.
Listen, I just think it provides that safe environment. Like if a company already knows that you can perform well in the role you're doing, they're way more likely to sponsor you moving across. And so I think that having that safety of like, I can try this thing out and not necessarily be that good at it, but they know I'm good at what I do here. So like I've got that.
Safe kind of backup to rely on. Like I've built a reputation here.
Yeah. Which
so
comes with its own scary bits because like now I don't want to fail at this new thing. But that's a different thing.
That's a whole thing. But can you please give the people some context into like what you mean by?
Yeah. So I started at CyberSafe in marketing. I did that for just under a year, I think, and then I did customer success for a year and a half, and then I've been an engineer for over a year now. So got to see different areas of the business and seen it scale, but also had the opportunity to move around I've put in work to do it, but I've had I've had the support and the trust from the organisation to be like, amazing. We think you can do it, and we'll do what we can to help you. So
when I say Jessie has amassed so many skills, it's iconic. Yeah. So how did you go from being a solutions engineer to now being a developer advocate? And can you tell us more about developer advocacy and what that means at your company?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's a similar thing. Like, I always feels like so funny, like saying this. I didn't, and like, it never really occurred to me that it was a job. I just remember seeing all of these people in my company going around, building cool things, writing blogs about them, and then getting to do talks about them. I was just like, that's when, like, what do you actually do? In your like that can't be the whole job, and that's like a lot of it, which is really good. But I had a colleague in my old job say to me like, when are you going to admit that you don't actually like what you're doing? I was like, not today.
and how that person? How was that obvious to them? Was it just that you were doing so many things outside of it, or like what was it that for them made it obvious that you were enjoying other things and not necessarily the role you were in?
I think I had like a bit of a curiosity about devrel, and I got the chance to be involved in the like company's conference Signal, and like run like a workshop there, and I was just so excited about it.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
So it was just the fun. Yeah. Is that like what happened when you were kind of
but I think I was working with engineering loads as a customer success person, trying to investigate bugs and kind of got an insight into how they worked, and then once I had the opportunity to like actually give it a little bit of a go, it was like, this is 100% what I want to do. Yeah. So I didn't realise, were you a solutions engineer at LaunchDarkly and moved internally?
No, I was a solutions engineer at Twilio, and then I moved over to LaunchDarkly. I wasn't really sure like whether or not, I just knew that I wanted to do talks. I think I just saw people doing talks and I just thought, that's so cool. I really want to be able to do that. So I started with articles, and I started like writing and pitching some articles. I started writing like tutorials, and I think like devrel is one of those jobs that you can do it before you get the job. So I started to try to like do it before I had the job, because I was just kind of thinking like, I don't want to go in, like maybe I should look for like an engineering apprenticeship, or like, I don't know, I was just like trying to figure out like what would be a good fit. And I think I just ended up doing the job in like a freelance, like contracting capacity. And then I found the role at LaunchDarkly, and it involves a lot of the same sort of, I always say to people that like devrel is almost like solutions engineering, but with a different audience.
Interesting.
And with like a different sort of, like, it's the same content, but like it's presented in a different way.
Yeah.
Because you're like still building like a proof of concept, you're proving that something can be done. You're doing it maybe in a more sort of like fun, like slightly more sort of surface level way. But you do have to kind of have the solution, like it needs to work.
Yeah.
Everything needs to work. Yeah. And then you get to, my favorite thing in the job is that you get to work with other people who really want to be speakers, and they don't know what they want to talk about, but they know they want to, like, they've got a talk in them. And you get to like go on a call with them and just like be like, okay, tell me your talk, or like, what's your idea, or just speak at me. And I was doing this week, and you get to like work with them on an abstract, help them submit the abstract, work with them on their talk.
Oh, that's super cool.
And then you see them do it, and it's like, so, yeah.
And are these people engineers or other developer advocates?
Yeah, some of them. One of them's a solutions engineer. One of them is a documentation engineer, writer. And she just did this talk at CDCon, and she killed it. Oh. Ember, you rule. You killed it. That's a really exciting part of the job.
Can you tell us more about LaunchDarkly and what exactly your role entails?
Yeah, of course. So LaunchDarkly is a feature management platform. We help people to control the software that they build. So a feature flag, feature flags are kind of like what we're most known for, and feature flags are almost like a control point in your code. They almost work like if-else statements. So like if the if the user is in this country, serve them this version of the site.
Yeah.
But that can be changed. So the if can be changed to like one specific IP address.
Yeah.
So like if you are accessing the site from this IP address, show me the like this production version. And that means that you can kind of deploy your features. It's like decouples the process of deployment from releasing. So you can still have your very like expensive high profile releases, but you can deploy your features into your production environment to really test whether or not they actually work. And like slowly stage over, like slowly canary launch them, stage like a blue-green deployment. Yeah, you can do a bunch of really interesting things. And we're pulling together some new products, which I'm really like, actually, I think there's some really good ones. So yeah.
Can you reveal them, or is it a secret?
I want to still have my job. So
Okay.
Top
exclusives here.
We'll get the exclusives, I'm sure, as soon as we can.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about what it's like working at a startup. So was Twilio quite a large organisation when you were there? And LaunchDarkly, I assume, is quite a lot in the earlier stages?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think Twilio, I can't remember how many people were there when I started. I think it started at 3,000 and I left when they were like 5,000 maybe.
Wow. Yeah.
And LaunchDarkly, I started when they were like 400-ish, and I think now we're at like 500-ish.
Yeah.
But they've got really similar like tech stacks for doing your day-to-day work, like Atlassian, kind of tool suite, that kind of thing, like Confluence, Slack, all the usuals. It's really exciting being part of, like, being able to build the culture that you want in an organization. I get the sense that you get to do that with CyberSafe too.
Yeah, in a way, definitely. We've been like part of the team as we've been deciding how teams are going to be built in the future. And like, I know that, now that we're bringing a lot of people on board, it's like up to us to be able to feel like we're setting the tone for how new people are joining and how new squads are formed and all that kind of thing, which is really cool. I know that you have been one of the first UK employees in your team. Is that right?
Yeah. I think there are now like 30, 40 of us in the UK. For a while, there's like one other person in marketing, which is kind of where my department sits, like kind of product marketing, like between product and marketing. And that's resulted in some like nights, time zones.
Of course.
Time zones are a thing. Time zones are definitely a thing. I'll never forget when, oh my gosh, when we were at KubeCon a couple of weeks ago, I got the chance to work with like, I think like a ecosystem lead or something. You know, came over and he was like doing like a stop all across like these different European shows, and he hit our one. So we got to like hang out with him, and he was like, it's so strange. Like when the US logs in on the evening, like I just get all these messages, and they just completely forget about your time zone. We're just like, that is our life. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's getting better, and I think now that there are more of us here, we can just be really like intentional about switching off. Which is hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. Especially, I love the whole remote first change and all the changes that are coming along with it, and I love the concept of asynchronous meetings and being able to do async communication. But that does also come with a cost of like, now I can receive messages at any time of the day, which doesn't necessarily mean I need to look at them or acknowledge them or respond to them. But like, I could in theory always be on, and that's a whole new challenge that didn't exist a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and it's difficult when like quite bad with when it comes to work.
Setting boundaries.
Moderation.
We were talking a lot about this, especially when you love what you do. Why would you not do it?
Okay, this is what we were literally talking about on the train. We had all these conversations on the train today, which is quite interesting. Like saying that so we were having a conversation with a few people, and one of them said that, you know, you won't necessarily get burnt out if you love what you're doing, right? And I said that, well, sometimes when you love what you're doing, it can lead to burnout because you can't set effective boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I'm having so much fun. I'm having so much fun in this task right now that I haven't moved in 5 hours. I haven't went to the toilet. I haven't eaten anything. I haven't slept a wink last night. And so it's like, there's a cost to loving your job as well. So yeah, I think that definitely needs to be recognised, because sometimes people say, you know, but at least you're having fun. And I was like,
that's the problem.
That's the problem.
She died as she lived.
Yeah. It's just like setting boundaries can be so challenging, especially when you come from like, well, for me, an ethnic minority background where I'm taught that, you need to work twice as hard to get like half what your like white counterparts can get. And so it's so hard for me to be like, accept the fact that I can work a 9 to 5, but also have in the back of my head like, oh no, but you need to be putting that extra hour in, and you need to shine so much for people to really recognize you and accept that you are a developer. And you know what you're talking about. Yeah. Like I had, I think I made a tweet about my new job, and this guy tweeted me back saying, you don't look, did you see that?
No, I saw it. You don't look like you code.
Yeah, you don't look like a developer, or you don't look like someone that you can code. And I'm like,
on her congratulations post.
My congratulations.
On your congratulations post.
Yeah. Like, so happy I got this new job. And it's like, the thing is, I wasn't going to acknowledge it. Yeah. Like, I didn't like it. I didn't reply because it riled me up a bit, but you're not going to get a reply from me. I just don't necessarily have the energy. But it sucked. It sucked. And like, some people can really internalize messages like that and say, now I do need to work super hard because there's people in the US who will need me, there's people in the UK who will need me, and just to prove that they are really a developer when they may think in the back of their head people don't take them that seriously.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
It does.
It's like, it's such an easy trap to fall into, isn't it? Because like, if in any way you don't think that you're enough, it's so
true. I love it. We're getting real. We're getting real.
Like, if in any way that you don't think that you're enough, it's so easy to go to work, do something that someone needs you to do. You feel like you're helping them and you're worthwhile and you're providing value, and then you know how
that's where you get your validation from. And then that's the thing.
It's a whole thing.
and then you're always overworking because that's who you are. Like, it's so easy for that to become a thing when actually, I had this like chat with my colleague recently, and we were talking about that, about like instilling boundaries, and we we're talking about like that feeling of like, when will you feel like you don't have to fight anymore? You're good, you've made it, you're there.
What's the answer?
Yeah,
I'm trying to find out.
We need an answer, Jessica. You can't leave.
I'm just trying to think that. That's why you like I'm trying to like reinforce that. I'm trying to remember that. I'm just trying to be like, you will not even if you lose your job tomorrow, even if something goes wrong, even if, you know, like Google Cloud releases a very, very good version of what we do. Or well, last year Amazon released like a very good feature flag system, and I was like, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah, that's scary.
But
that shouldn't take away from who you are and the value that you can provide and all of
because right, as an engineer, like you're betting on yourself to acquire new knowledge every time, and that's your skill, right?
I think so. But this is where I think like the power of community is so important, because you get to go to spaces where you are recognized, you are seen, and you can kind of be appreciated and celebrated outside of the value that you bring in your 9 to 5. Right. It's like it's a separate thing. And I'm always grateful for when I get to go to events and things and speak to people and get to help others as well. It's
really rewarding.
Yeah, it helps like bring about the next like group of engineers that are going to come in.
And hopefully not work too hard.
This is what we talk about in Charlene's episode.
Cross promotion.